Hi, Doug Stacy with Roof to Foundation, and today we're going to talk about gutter size. What size do you need? 5, 6, 7, 8-inch size gutters? That's what we're going to discuss today. And I have with me Jaden from Gutter Cover Kansas City, and you've been out doing gutter quotes and examining homes for how long now?
I've been doing inspections for 5 years.
So 5 years. So you've seen all different types of houses, all different sizes of roofs, and probably all different types of needs for gutter sizes.
Yeah, 3-inch to 8-inch gutters I've seen.
Yeah, 3 to 8 inch. Okay, so they're quite a bit. So we're even adding 3 into this mix now, right? So it can be really confusing for a homeowner to know what size gutter do they actually need. So if I was just to ask you right now, you know, if you were to give a blanket answer, what are you talking about? What size gutter do I need on my house?
So most homeowners today are really looking at between 5 or 6-inch gutters. They really don't need to look at all these different options.
Okay.
The biggest thing is that they need to examine what their home really needs, because it's not always just a straightforward blanket answer. Two houses could be right next to each other, and one could be perfectly okay with a 5-inch system, while the other does need a 6-inch system.
All right, so you're telling me that, you know, most people are going to decide between a 5-inch or a 6-inch gutter for their home. So how do they decide?
Well, there's really 3 factors that go into that, because each home is unique.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is going to be the roof size. So what your square footage is, because that square footage, if it's larger, that much more water is now going into the same gutter system, right? So if you have a much larger roof, you're going to need a much larger gutter system.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the second thing is going to be the roof pitch, the roof architecture, how it's designed.
So now what are you talking about, the roof pitch? What's that mean?
So if the roof's really steep,
Okay.
the water is going to shed off much quicker. So that same square footage of water is now into the gutter faster.
It's just moving faster down that roof line because of gravity.
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing is sometimes with the roof design, they can funnel water into smaller spaces.
Right.
So this larger volume of water now gets funneled into this really small area. And so it needs a larger capacity to be able to
handle that water.
Yes.
And move it away from the house.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
The other thing is the climate you live in.
Okay.
So do you have really heavy rains for an extended period of time where you get like a 3-inch rain in an hour? Or is that 3-inch rain spread over the week?
Okay. All right. So really, it really depends on the climate. And of course, it changes somewhat, you know, from season to season. Sometimes you have seasons where it's just kind of a drizzle, light rain. But then other times of the year, you get these super heavy thunderstorms that just really dump a lot of water all of a sudden on a person's house.
Yeah, and that's why you really need to be thinking about the future. Sometimes, you know, it's nice just to go with a cheaper solution that will probably work most of the time, but you really want something that is going to work as an investment for the future, where you won't have to worry about the gutter system causing problems.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So why would you put 5-inch gutters on your home?
Well, 5-inch gutters have become the minimum standard for a house. Okay. You want at least 5-inch gutters, right? And they're sized adequately for smaller to medium-sized homes.
Okay.
Without, you know, really big roof pitches, really steep roof pitches,
right,
or unique architecture.
Okay.
And areas where you get a moderate rainfall. So nothing that's monsoon or hurricane-like,
right.
Just a nice moderate rainfall.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And then I imagine, you know, budget would come into mind as well, correct?
Yeah, so they're going to be a lot more economical for you if you don't need a 6-inch system. Really, the downside is the capacity.
Okay.
If you have a home that has unique architecture, there may be areas that the 5-inch gutter system just won't have the capacity to handle the water.
Okay, well, that makes sense. All right. So now let's talk about why would you use a 6-inch gutter on a home?
Well, 6-inch gutters is what a lot of contractors and honestly most homeowners are moving towards.
Okay.
And the reason is really having to do with the size. While it doesn't seem like that much bigger, it really is. A 5-inch gutter to a 6-inch gutter is actually an inch wider and an inch deeper.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So you're getting about 40 to 50% more capacity than a 5-inch gutter.
Okay.
So for homes that have really steep roof pitches, really large roof designs, unique architecture, areas that have lots of heavy rainfall,
Right.
or even if you've had foundation issues in the past or you're getting water in your basement,
Right.
a lot of times that has to do with the gutters just not being sized properly.
Right.
So 6 inches is becoming the safe choice for a lot of contractors and homeowners that just don't want to deal with the headaches anymore.
Right. Well, and it is a big headache because you do need to move that water away. So now, if 6 inch is good, then why wouldn't you go with 7 or 8-inch gutter on your house?
That's a really good question. Well, just as 6-inch is an inch wider and an inch deeper, well,
Right.
now 8-inch is 2 inches wider and 2 inches deeper than that. So they're just becoming massive.
Right.
They're really designed for more commercial buildings than what a residential home would need.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense, on it, because you're not running in, 5 or 6,000 square feet of water into just one section of gutter like you would on a commercial building. Yeah.
There's really rare situations where it might be needed on a home, but those would be really unique architecture where maybe 80% of the roof is now draining into a 3-foot section of gutter, in which case that might be overcapacity for a 6-inch gutter.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, hopefully this is able to help individuals to really kind of decide whether or not they really do need a 6-inch gutter or 5-inch gutter, which size that they actually do need on their home. Thanks for coming by and taking time to visit with us today on this.
Absolutely.
So there's one thing to remember. One size does not fit all. If you're unsure about what size of gutter your home needs, why not call us and get a free gutter inspection? We do a 21-point inspection on your home and give you recommendations so that you can decide what's best for you and your budget.